What's going on, you guys? It's AvrLR32 here, bringing you guys a video on Project Timeaus. It's been a while since I've covered Project Timeaus, because the last one that I did was the Timeaus Rulers deck that some guy took to a regional and didn't even top at, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that, because I know someone will. But yeah, so I figured why not cover this deck, because it does use the Eye of Timeaus. It's an Eye of Timeaus deck, really. So I decided, you know what, let's cover it. I haven't done anything with Project Timeaus in a while, so let's do this in honor of Project Timeaus. And just, kind of dissect the deck a little bit, just give my opinions on it. No, he did not have Diffusion in the side deck. I just figured, you know what, Diffusion, it does the exact same thing as Desynchro. Came out before Desynchro, actually. And I just figured, you know what, it'd be funny if you could get off a play of, like, go into Eye of Timeaus, go into Dark Magician, play Amulet Dragon. They like try and bottomless it or something. You chain Diffusion, put your Amulet Dragon back, and then play your Dark Magician, and just like swing for 25. Like, I don't know. That play would probably never happen, but it's just a little funny, gimmicky play. So I figured just something to mess around with. Put 3 in the side deck and see if I can do anything with it. But yeah, so my thoughts on it. As soon as I got done reading the deck list on TCG Player, shout out to the guy that made this deck. By the way, I can't remember his name, or else I give him credit. But yeah, but when I first looked at the deck, it honestly reminded me of my very first build of the Eye of Timeaus deck. Because remember, I was originally using a Dragon Master Knight OTK skeleton with the King of the Swamps. I ended up taking out the Manjus and the Blackluster Soldiers, and I threw in like 1 or 2 Dark Magician Girls, and I made it revolve around Dark Magician Girl, the Dragon Knight. I also had triple Blue Eyes. I didn't have any White Stones, but then you could also go into Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. You could go into, you couldn't do Dragon Master Knight. You could do Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. You also ran Prisma. Like, really, this deck is very similar. I'm sorry, this build is actually somewhat similar to my original Dragon Master Knight OTK deck, which you can also find on my channel. Just type in Dragon Master Knight OTK. I tried running Eye of Timeaus. I did not have Eye of Timeaus in the deck quite yet, but I did have the Blue Eyes, had the King of the Swamps, had the Monks, had the Prismas, had 2 Dark Magician Girls, had Dragon's Mirror and 2 polymerizations. I had Rhoda, but I also had E-Call. I believe I also had Upstart. I was not using Soul Charge. I believe I was using Dark Hole, and I was actually using only triple Royal Decree, and my chair just decides to be a derp. And I was only using 3 Royal Decree for my traps, but he's using triple Breakthrough Scale and triple Wiretap, which, I mean, makes sense. You could also, take out the wiretaps for trap stuns if you prefer, or even, Royal Decree. It just all depends on your playstyle. Because a wiretap pretty much accomplishes the same thing as trap stun would, except your opponent would activate a card and you chain trap stun, just goes to the graveyard and fizzles out, whereas wiretap actually puts it back in the deck, and it's a counter trap, whereas trap stun is not. So it just all depends on what you want to feel more comfortable with. Hell, even throw Dark Bribe in there if you don't mind giving your opponent a card. This deck really does seem to OTK, as I was, putting the deck together here on Dueling Network while I was looking at the deck list. And it seems to OTK, and I read the article all the way through, and he talked about the plays. He talked about how it's obviously not going to top deck. It's obviously not going to top deck, but win the next YCS. He said, but hopefully a few times in some games or matches or whatever that you'll be able to end games by saying Dark Magician, Dark Magic Attack, or whatever, just something funny like that. But yeah, so let's go into this deck list here, and I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions and dissect it a little bit more after we've gone through the whole deck. He originally had a 14-card extra deck. Dark Paladin was not in there. It is able to be made because you can go, like, let's say, for example, you go first turn, summon Prisma, reveal Dark Paladin, send Dark Magician, activate Eye of Timeaus, send Prisma to grave, make Dark Paladin. You have one of the most broken fusion monsters ever created on board first turn with 2900. So, I'm definitely okay with that. So anyways, let's hop into this deck here. So we have 2 Dark Magician. I love the original art. I will not use any other art of Dark Magician. Same thing with Dark Magician. I love the original arts of them. Not because that they're sexual or anything, but just I grew up with this picture of Dark Magician. Like, that's the card I'll use. Dark Magician, that's the first ever kind I picked up, so I was like, you know what? Why not? So yeah, 2 Dark Magician, 2 Dark Magician Girl, obvious reasons. Yeah, need I say more? And then we also have 2 Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon is a really big monster. And then we got 2 White Stones. Keep in mind that they are tuners, so you can make things like Scrap Dragon and Azure Eyes, which, keep in mind, Azure Eyes says any normal monster at your standby phase, so you can get back your Dark Magician and then go Eye of Timeaus into something. or just get back your blue eyes and start beating them over the head with 3,000 attack. And then we have the triple Prisma. This is pretty much your MVP because this is going to open up so many plays. Because really, you're not going to be sacking off a monster or two, depending on whether you're summoning Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl. So really, this is just your go-to guy every time you want to try and go into a fusion of either Dragon Knight or Amulet Dragon. Unless you have polymerization, then of course that obviously doesn't matter. And then we have Triple Diamond Dude. His reasoning behind this was because, I mean, pretty much everything in the spell lineup is normal. Your Eye of Timeaus, your Fusion Recovery, your Polymerization, like everything in here is normal except for the Book of Moon. That's literally it. Like, you have a quite high percentage of hitting that, and then even if you don't, well then it just goes to the bottom of your deck, no big deal. And it's another warrior that you can hit with Rhoda as well, so you're not really losing out on too much there. Also, it can be played with Summoner Monk, so you can go Summoner Monk, which you run 2 of, along with 2 King of the Swamp. You can go Summoner Monk, switch it to defense, use the effect, pitch a dead spell that you don't need, which is perfect for Fusion Recovery, or even a Soul Charge that you might not need, especially if it's first turn, or even an Upstart that you don't feel like you need. You can go into Diamond Dude, use the effect, reveal something, and then, overlay, and then, do some really neat plays. And one of the plays he was talking about is if you have like a Prisma on board, and then you go Monk into Diamond Dude, Diamond Dude's effect, reveal a spell, and then whether it's a spell or whatever, you fulfill the effect, and then you overlay into Emerald, use Emerald's second effect, and then you can target whatever vanilla's in your grave, Dark Magician or Blue Eyes, and bring it out. So now you're sitting with an 1800 beat stick, and not a dead defense mode monster with only 800 attack, 1600 defense, and a 1400 attack Diamond Dude. Instead, now you have a 1700 Prisma, and 1800 Emerald, and possibly a 3000 or 2500 attack beater. So I'm okay with that. And then I already said 2 King in the Swamp, 2 Monk. 2 King in the Swamp, just because you're only running 2 Polymerization, it can be substituted for any of your fusion materials, which is always helpful. For the spells, we have 1 Book of Moon, 1 Dark Hole, Triple Eye of Timeaus. This is your MVP, obviously, along with Prisma, Fusion Recovery, and Polymerizations. I'd say your top cards in this deck, I mean, other than the obvious Soul Charge, really, which, I mean, it's just there just to help you out, really, is, I would say, Prisma, Eye of Timeaus, your Fusion Recovery, just because you get back your Polymerizations, and the 2 Polymerization, obviously, because the deck really just revolves around fusions. And then we got 2 Fusion Recovery. In case you don't know what this does, you target a Polymerization and a Fusion Material monster that's in your grave that was used for a Fusion Summon, and you add them both to your hand. So if I go Polymerization and I use Dark Magician Girl and King of the Swamp, I can then use Fusion Recovery to get back King of the Swamp and Dark Magician Girl, and I can just make more plays. And then we have 1 Rhoda, because we have Triple Diamond and Triple Prisma, enough said. And then we have the Triple Soul Charge, because Soul Charge is good. And then Triple Upstart, don't worry, I'm not going to say Triple Hoban. Oops, just did. Triple Upstart, because you're essentially running a 37 card deck. This deck wants to OTK fast. It wants to be as fast as possible without ruining any consistency, so Upstart Goblin helps out with that a lot. And then for the traps, we have Triple Breakthrough Scale and Triple Wiretap. Pretty standard. For the extra deck, we have 2 Dark Magician Girl, the Dragon Knight, and 2 Amulet Dragon. I feel that Amulet Dragon is one of those cards that spellbook players just say, oh, that card doesn't exist. I don't have to worry about that card. And then it gets played on them, and they're like, this is a card. And then we have 1 Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, because it is possible if you have 2 Blue Eyes in your hand or somehow on the field. And if you can accomplish that in this deck, and congratulations, send me a picture. Because I don't see how. Other than bringing them out with Azure Eyes. I'm talking about attributing, but besides the point. 2 Blue Eyes and a King of the Swamp equals a Blue Eyes ulti, obviously. Dark Paladin, because a Prisma on board, activating Eye of Timeaus, or Polymerization with Dark Magician King of the Swamp equals Dark Paladin. In case you don't know what it does, during either player's turn when a spell card's activated, you pitch a card, negate the activation, and destroy it, and then it gates 500 for every dragon. I added up all the dragons, and if every single dragon in this deck, an extra deck, was in the grave, and you had Dark Paladin on board, I think the highest he would gain is 83 or 82, somewhere in the 8,000 range, I know that, so it's almost over 9,000, but not quite. And then 1 Azure Eyes, protects your dragons, Scrap Dragon because it's scrap, 1 Felgrin for your rank 8, rank 7s we got Dracosac and Big Eye, and then for our rank 6, I'm going to put here with the rank 7s, my computer's lagging, but in any case, Naruto, the Moral Leader. It's 2 level 6 spellcasters, so both your dark Magician Girls. And its effect is that once returned during either player's turn, your opponent activates a spell or trap. You can detach the seed material from it, negate the activation if you do destroy it. And then for our rank 4s, we have Degusto and Morale, Exciton, and Honor Arc, the most broken exceeds right now. Um, but yeah, so that is the whole deck. Like I said, the diffusions were just in here for a gimmick. You don't even have to worry about those unless you really want to run them in this deck. um, so my thoughts on it overall. I personally am just not really that big of a fan of breakthrough skill. Like, I realize that it's good in the hat matchup because Ice Hand can pop it, and then you don't really care because it's still live in the grave. Artifact Ignition doesn't really do anything to it because you can just, A, you can chain it, and then B, it doesn't really matter because it's going to go to your grave anyway. MST pops it, you just do the same thing with Artifact Ignition. So it has a lot of nice plays. I prefer the fact of I like stopping my opponent from attacking. That's just me. But I do see where it can definitely be beneficial in this deck instead of Phoenix Chain, because you're most likely always going to have high beat sticks on the field, and even if you don't, you're most likely going to have a monster or two on board, and you have the Book of Moon. Oh, great. You have the Book of Moon in your deck to help back you up. I apologize for this inactivity thing here. It'll load back up in a second. So, yeah. What was I talking about? Ah, yes, I was talking about this. And the Double King the Swamp I obviously love a lot. It helps the deck go around, like around about 360. Like, this card is just so good. The fact that I can have it in my hand, and if I don't need it, I can just pitch it for a polymerization and go off. Or even just use it if I already have the polymerization. Like, there's no way that this card is really bad unless you're just top decking it. Then you're already losing Yu-Gi-Oh! You're already losing that game anyway. I was about to say losing Yu-Gi-Oh! Anyway. And then the wiretaps, like I said, I already really just discussed. I mean, it just depends on your playstyle, honestly. Like, if you prefer Trap Stun, use Trap Stun. If you prefer Dark Bribe like Gage does, prefer Dark Bribe. Same thing with Breakthrough Skill, really. If you prefer Phoenix Chain, then use Phoenix Chain. I just now realized that Breakthrough Skill, to me, in my opinion, is just better in this deck because, I mean, you're running big-ass beaters. Like, everything in this deck is 25 or higher, really. I mean, other than your regular, normal summons, and your tuners. But, I mean, like, and besides the Dark Magician Girls, really. But, I mean, like, your extra deck, like, almost everything is over 25. Like, Exiton is close to 2K. Honor Arc's 21. Emerald's close to 2K. I mean, just everything is just big behemoths. Like, just look at Ultimate Dragon there. I mean, that just speaks for itself. But that is my analysis on this deck. I obviously love the fact that he was able to combine Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl without the deck being too inconsistent. I haven't yet to test the deck, but I feel that is going to be one of its issues, is that it could have some consistency issues. That's what I'm afraid of, but I'm hoping that it doesn't, even though you're running 4 vanillas and 2 Dark Magician Girl, but that's neither here nor there. The vanillas really shouldn't do anything to the deck per se, other than just providing fuel for your fusions. Like, if you open up 2 Dark Magician, 2 Blue Eyes, and 2 White Stone, obviously you're going to be Mr. Salty Salt. I'm sorry, Mr. Salty Bitch, in reference to my round 4 opponent from YCS Atlanta. That's really all I have to say on the deck. If you guys have any comments, please leave them in a comment, obviously, because that's what the comment box is made for. YouTube could actually make it work. Yeah, I'm very impressed by this deck. I never thought of using Diamond Dude, to be quite honest. I never really did think of it, because it's like, it almost seems gimmicky in a way, or at least you would think, because it's like, if you don't hit it, and the card that you top deck was a card that you could have used, then, it goes to the bottom, and it's just like, how am I supposed to get it back? I mean, unless it's something like a Prism that you can get a Rhoda for, and it doesn't matter. But I highly doubt that's going to be happening. But hopefully more times than others, I'll be hitting normal spells with Diamond Dude. That's my one fear of running triple of them, because it's like, it doesn't really do anything for the deck either, like in regards to fusion summoning. Because if you polymerization, you don't have any heroes in the extra deck here. There's no space. I mean, you could throw a hero in here instead of Dark Paladin. I just feel Dark Paladin's better. But anyways, I've rambled on long enough. If you guys want to leave some suggestions, please let me know. Let me know what you guys think about Project Timeaus. And I think I'm about done with this project, because I don't really think there's anything else to really do, unless you guys have any ideas. Anyways, let me know in a comment, and I might live stream tonight. Thank you guys for watching, and goodbye.